Hello, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. Thank you so much for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. Former President Donald Trump is preparing to address a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania at any moment, standing on the exact same site where a man trying to assassinate him back in July. Authorities have taken measures to intensify security around the rally site, including strategically placed vehicles, bulletproof glass, and a more unified command system, which we know was a shortcoming that was identified during the last time. Our team on the ground says that there are more security measures. Unlike July 13th, they saw bomb-sniffing dogs checking bags. The risers next to and behind the stage are also larger. And CBS News political correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns is there in Butler. Caitlin, you've attended a number of Trump rallies this election cycle. First of all, how does this one compare?
Hey, Lana, good to see you. Well, by design, the stage behind me and everything else, the pomp and circumstance of this all feels very similar to what it looked like that day, but everything has changed. Not only the state of the race, but also those security measures in place. To my right, there is a row of trailers that are blocking the line of sight from that shed where the shooter fired on July 13th to that stage behind me. And on top of that, those trailers are snipers. In fact, snipers are pretty much everywhere to be seen. It is very clear the increased security presence. We got on the ground here yesterday, and well over 24 hours before this rally was set to begin, the area and the site was completely locked down. So heightened security here. Actually, the U.S. Secret Service had extended the security perimeter, and they're going to have personnel stationed on that shed where the shooter fired shots. But the dynamics of this rally are similar. We've talked to a lot of supporters here who are eager to see the former president return. They think that this sends an important message, him coming back here. And we also spoke to someone who was here that day on July 13th at that rally and felt that he needed to return here just as the president is.
And Caitlin, I understand that we've also been seeing in the crowd that event has been turned into something of a rallying cry, even with some participants wearing pins or things that look like the bandage that the former president had over his ear. Talk to me a little bit more about what you're seeing that's distinct and specific to this rally.
Well, this really feels, Lana, like a festival of sorts. You can see the crowd behind me, but what you can't see right now is the crowd that extends far beyond our press riser, really essentially covered in people. I would say tens of thousands of people are here, and some from across the country. We spoke to someone yesterday who drove an RV all the way from Los Angeles to be here in Butler. I'm also seeing that some people have shirts that are marking that they were there on July 13th, and they're returning here as well. But I can't underscore, Lana, how critical that July 13th day has been for the former president and his base of support. Having covered lots of rallies before and since then, his supporters see this as a seminal moment in the campaign. And in their view, Trump returning here is a sign of perseverance, but also a kind of recognition of continuing on. And you talk to his supporters, and they believe that, many of them believe that he was protected that day for a reason. So there is that kind of symbolism in their view of that event. But you also hear from people on the ground here eager to turn the page from Butler, kind of wanting people to associate Butler with October 5th and not July 13th.
Well, talk to us a little bit more about the message that we expect to actually hear from the former president.
Well, we just heard from the vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, and that was a political speech. And what was notable in that speech is he said that former President Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy. Kamala Harris, what have you done? That is what J.D. Vance just said on stage just now. And so this is kind of a theme throughout this campaign. We'll see if the former president sticks to a kind of of similar message that he's been talking about on the campaign trail, but this is also a sort of homecoming for him here in Butler. The campaign had really wanted to make this point of returning here, so I imagine that we will kind of get all of the above when it comes to the former president's remarks. We also know that there is going to be a tribute to Corey Compertor, who of course lost his life shielding his family from the bullets. Behind me, his place in the crowd is actually marked by his firefighter uniform. We're also, Lana, expected to hear at some point from Elon Musk, the billionaire Tesla CEO, who is a supporter of Donald Trump's. He is also going to be in attendance today.
Huey-Burns, thank you very much. I want to bring in now Jennifer Borrasso from CBS News Pittsburgh. We just heard from Caitlin that the vice presidential running mate was there on the stage talking to the entire crowd. But you, Jen, actually got to pose some questions to Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. What did he have to tell you?
Oh, that's absolutely right. So the first thing we asked, how does he feel about Pennsylvania? You know that it's a battleground state, how important it is, how many times that former President Donald Trump has been here. He says that they feel confident right now about that. And he said that this rally is a way to remind people to just the importance of this election and to get out the vote. So we also, the first question I asked him was about the economy. What would a Trump-Vance administration look like on day one? And he basically says that America needs common sense policies, economic policies, and that they are running this race to make things more affordable for people who can't afford groceries and who can't afford homes, who just can't afford just the living wage, he mentioned, and that he will open up America's energy resources, basically saying, quote, drill, baby, drill, and saying that drilling will make America less reliant on energy from overseas and create jobs.
Well, talk to us a little bit more about what you're seeing and hearing from those supporters that turned out for today's rally.
Yeah, I have to tell you, at last check, the Secret Service told me 24,000 people have turned out to this rally. Last rally, I'm told in July it was 12 to 13,000. And a lot of people basically saying that they feel sorry for Corey Comparator's family. Their heart breaks for them and for the victims on July 13th. But nothing was going to stop them from seeing Donald Trump take the stage. They were very excited that J.D. Vance was here, Elon Musk, and basically this was like a pilgrimage. I mean, there were people here long before the gates opened at 10 a.m. I mean, these are staunch Trump supporters, and basically we're seeing people young and old. Many of the people that were at the July 13th rally came today. They said nothing was going to keep them away. It was evil that day that marked July 13th, but this rally, to many, meant the biggest to many Trump supporters. And you can just see, maybe I can step out and show you some of the crowd here. A lot of chanting, and they're just eagerly waiting for Donald Trump to get here. And you could hear the cheering when Trump's plane flew over the Butler Farm Show. They were really excited to hear from J.D. Vance. So they're fired up, they're energized, and they're just waiting for him to take the stage to finish what he couldn't finish on July 13th.
You know, so interesting thinking back to that day, being here at the anchor desk. At that point, the former president was running against the current president, President Biden. How much has changed in that time period? Jennifer Borrasso, thank you.